I created this cube as a sample for my new encaustic course that I'm filming right now, all about dry shellac burns, and also for one further into the future covering fusing and encaustic painting basics. If you're interested in learning when those workshops go live, I invite you to sign up for my newsletter below, because I'm also writing a book about shellac burns and you'll get updates about that too. So stay tuned. I normally speed up and cut out all the waiting time in my videos, so you don't have to spend time just watching wax cool or ink dry. This time though, I decided to keep that time to give you a better idea of what's actually happening. And I'd love your feedback on whether or not this is helpful for you. If it's not, I'll go back to cutting out all the waiting again. Fusing a cube can be tough, but I wanted to show you all the things that can happen as you fuse. Bubbles, bare spots, disappearing wax. This especially happens with cubes, since all sides must be painted. The two sides where the wood grain is open and porous, the wax just soaks right in. This is why I usually use encaustic gesso on cubes, but I left it off this time so you could see this happen. I'll be creating another video just about fusing, so if you have any questions about it, please put them in the comments so I can make sure to cover them in that upcoming video. Fusing is so important. If you don't melt each wax layer to the layer beneath it, the wax easily flakes and chips and peels away from the surface. Like these drips. Not fused yet. Once the wax is cool enough, it would be pretty easy to peel those drips away from the wax beneath. I have to fuse them to the wax layer beneath it to create one solid layer of wax. When it came time to burn, I wanted to use alcohol ink and spray shellac. I love the vibrant colors of alcohol ink, especially the glittery metallic ones. But finding the right ways to use them in shellac burns to achieve your desired look can be tricky. The first round, I was pretty careful about where I added the ink. I wanted to leave enough negative space so that when I sprayed shellac all over the surface, I would get very pale cells as well as deeply colored ones. This is one of my favorite things about these types of burns, and it's why I come back to spray shellac over and over, even though it's not the best way to do shellac burns. I sprayed a very thin layer of shellac on each side. The alcohol ink reacts to the shellac, and I didn't want the ink to spread too much. The resulting burn was mixed. I got some okay cells, mixed with some good ones, but also some not great ones. I'm also noticing that the metallic ink isn't burning so well. For the next layer, I was a lot less careful of where the ink went, and also a lot less careful of spraying the shellac. I sprayed a very generous layer all over the cube all at once. I still had to turn it and spray the bottom once the shellac dried, so the foil I used was a pretty big mess by the time I was done. I fell in love with the way the cube looked after the shellac dried. The vibrant colors and how blended and glossy they are is so yummy. But I'm doing burns, so here goes. This burn was much worse than the first. Not great at all, and I'm not sure why. Perhaps the cut of spray shellac is only a pound. I haven't been able to find the ratio printed anywhere on the can, so that could be the case. It could also be that this can is too old. Fresh shellac definitely burns better than old. For the next layer, I'm actually mixing alcohol ink into the shellac. These burns end up being much better, but the colors are so muted. It's hard to get the right colors when you mix the two together. You have to add a lot of ink to your shellac to get the same vibrant colors. That was an interesting moment. I decided on this fourth layer to brush shellac onto the surface and then add ink. But the brush that I picked, unbeknownst to me, I had already used to spread some alcohol ink at one point, and I didn't realize it. And I dipped it in my shellac, brushed it on the surface, and realized that it was pink. There was purple alcohol ink all over it, and so I had to pick a new brush and wipe that down. So, oops. Keep track of your brushes, everybody. But this new idea to kind of replicate a shellac burn but with brushed shellac instead, which always gives me better burns, I think was a success. Where I add the ink later, I got some negative space, some colorless cells, and some great vibrant cells as well, where I added the alcohol ink straight to the shellac. The cube is not the best for shellac burns, I realized after I finished this project, and I'm probably not going to do these again. One, because shellac burns over such small spaces are really not that great. They're much better when you have a wider area to be able to work with. And doing all the sides is just a little too difficult, a little too much of a mess when you're doing shellac burns on a cube. It's just a little bit too messy. But I'm still glad I was able to show you more about fusing and more about shellac burns. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe for more encaustic content. See you in the next video.